hey, congratulations on this new film, Sweet Thing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You know, your fans is going to be wondering, like, it's been a while since they've seen you on screen. So why now? Well, I guess it kind of self-explanatory because it's a film. It's like a family film for
Yeah.
for yourself.
There you go. I mean, this is one of those things where my husband wrote and directed it, and my kids star in the film, and my husband insisted I play the part. So I didn't have much of a choice. I hadn't been doing a lot of acting, just a few things here and there, mostly focusing on writing and producing in my organization, Sweet Blackberry. And so this came along, and I kept thinking, oh, he'll change his mind, you know, about me doing it. And he was pretty insistent, and he was certain that I could pull it off as well, even though the character is quite a departure from what people have seen me do before.
So what did he specifically say to you to change your mind to you know, to be part of the film?
He said, you have to do it. It's a marriage, you know, you live with someone and they're like, no, I'm insisting you do it. You kind of go, okay. All right, you know, and it was great. And now I'm so glad that he made me do it. I'm so proud of the film, so proud of the project. My kids are amazing in it. And watching them on set was something else, because they're so professional and so poised, and they're able to take on these very, gosh, emotional and difficult themes, and do the film, deliver, and then go back to their lives, you know, and not carry it with them. They're really incredible beings. They're so talented. And my husband is so great to watch. I love watching him work, because he's really in his element when he's on a set and directing, and he doesn't get to do it as often as he would like. So it was really a pleasure to be able to watch my husband and my kids be so incredible. A very different experience for me as an actor, because I was much more the wife and the mom than I felt like I was the actor, even though I tried to do my bit when they said action for me.
How does it feel, you know, because now we could actually consider yourself like an acting family. How does it feel like your kids is possibly following like the footsteps of of yourself?
Well, that was something we were always very you know, skeptical about, how we felt about that. I mean, actually, we weren't that skeptical. We knew we didn't want it. And so we were very careful with handling that. You know, there were people that would approach and be interested in my daughter, working with them, and we really didn't want her to do. She did two films with her father, once when she was really little, and then Sweet Thing, and then she did one other film in between for a student of my, a really talented, incredible student named Frances Bedomo of my husband's at NYU, and she did that, a short film. That was it, and we were very careful and even very selective in that case, just because we didn't want her to cross over into being potentially a child actor. And the good news is she made it through those young years without really pushing us, Mom, Dad, I want to be a star or anything like that. And now she's 18 years old, and she's, you know, so if she does decide to do that, that will be her choice at this point. But even now, she's kind of like, I don't know. So I like acting, you know. She's also a musician. She's a singer, songwriter. She plays multiple instruments. She's a very talented visual artist, and she also loves, she's finding that she loves criminology and things like that. And, you know, so who knows, maybe she'll be a forensic scientist. I don't know what she's gonna do. She loves the brain. That's the great thing, is that she's young and she has, you know, she can explore all of it. And that's all we really want for our kids, is for them to know that they've got all of this ahead of them, and to not pigeonhole themselves into this, you know, acting thing, or gosh forbid, the fame game, you know. And this generation, a lot of people push toward that, just wanting to be famous. And I'm happy to say my kids aren't on that bandwagon.
You want to know something hilarious? I just watched the movie first without reading about anything about the movie.
Oh boy.
And when I was watching this film, when your children showed up, and then you showed up, and I was like, wow, this is remarkable. resemblance. How do they match the children? But I was like, they look like they could be related in real life.
A little bit.
So to be honest with you, I had no idea. I was like watching the entire movie, not even realizing
That's
that.
so funny.
That
Yeah,
this
those
was a
are
family
my
affair.
kids. Yeah, it was truly a family affair, and it was a labor of love. It was we were all just loving pulling this thing together and putting on a show, and that's my husband's whole spirit when he works. He's a true independent. He always has been. And so it's very different from working on a big studio film. It's just an entirely different relationship. It's so much more raw and real and exciting, and it has a crackle underneath it. And I think it comes across in the film.
Now, some of the subject matters are very adult themed,
Yeah.
and your children actually handled that with maturity. Was that something that in the back of your minds, both you and your husband?
We weren't. We knew our kids well, and we knew their maturity level really well. And we're very open, and we talk very clearly and plainly about things with them. And so we weren't concerned about whether they could handle it. And my husband wouldn't have embarked on it to begin with if he had any questions about that at all. That was something that we always knew that that they were okay with. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gone there. I was very impressed, though, that they didn't take any of it with them, just as actors, not as kids, but even as actors, they didn't kind of hold it. It wasn't, they didn't get weighed down by it. My son is very good at just playing make-believe. He can click and play make-believe, and then cut, he's out, and he's like off, ready to go do something else, and he's left it behind him. And I think a lot of kids are that way. My daughter's, I think her load was a little heavier, but she didn't take it beyond the set. When it was over, and she was able to dismiss it. And they're fortunate enough to have a certain level of sophistication in regard to film and behind the scenes and stuff because of their relationship with us, and over the years watching us work and having worked with my husband on Little Feet years ago when they were little. So they have a level of sophistication about film acting that some people aren't privy to, and that definitely served them with this heavy subject matter.
Well, let's talk about your character, Eve. All I could say is that she's not going to get Mother of the Year, which
I thought she was.
which I'm going to go ahead and safely assume she's very opposite of you.
Yeah, I hope so. I certainly hope so. Yeah, Eve was quite a character, and I wasn't sure about whether I'd be able to play it in the beginning, but my husband insisted, and he knew that I could. He kept saying, and so I trusted him, and I went with it and got into playing something very different from what I've done before. And in that way, it was actually liberating, because it was fun to just kind of let go of any sort of vanity and all of that, and to just be like just a horrible character. And it was I don't know, it was kind of good. It was weird, and it was strange to do some of the stuff I had to do with my kids, but at the same time, like, people often ask about some of the stuff that I had to do and how hard I had to be with Lana in the film. And the truth is, Lana is she's critical. So, and she knows me so well. So if I actually did the one particular scene where I'm really rough with her, if I had done that scene and I didn't give it everything, I'd be looking at her going, and I know she'd just be looking at me like, that didn't quite cut it, Mom. So I've got this harsh critic, and same with my husband. My husband was there saying, you can do better. You can do better than that, And so, you trust your family, and at the same time, your family is going to be there to make sure you do your best work, because they know when you can do better. And so that was really good to have as well. It probably made me, in a lot of ways, strangely, work harder, because you don't want to let them down, and that they can see that there's more there that you're not giving up.
Well, one of the most amazing scenes was the dinner table scene, which is I'm not going to reveal too much about it, but you being in that scene, watching the character Bo with your children, was that hard to witness while
Yeah.
you're in the same room?
Yeah, every time. And we were at the Tribeca Film Festival last night and watched it again. And I just, yeah, it's really horrible. It's really, it's a difficult scene to watch. It's kind of, it's nightmarish. And yeah, it was kind of grisly, but, and the character Eve is just, the way she handles it is, like you said, she's not going to win Mother of the Year. So but I'm really, the kids are great. Their attitude about all of it, they laugh, of course, when they see these scenes because they're so like, wow. They laugh at it now because they've got this distance from the experience of doing it. But yeah, it's there. It's a trip. I don't know what else to say.
Well, tell me this: whose idea was it for you to wear the blonde wig?
My husband's. Yeah, I wouldn't have chosen that, but he had something very specific in mind, and he's not like he didn't look at other things. He wanted this. He had something in mind. He had something very clearly in mind for this character, um, both who she was and how she physically appeared. And so I wanted to be true to it. I wanted to be true to it. I wasn't doing a whole lot of like, oh no, I don't want to do that. That's not flattering, It was, like I said, and it was nice to not go there, to just have to let that go. Because this is somebody who sees me, in every which way as I go through life, and he has for 20 years plus. So I definitely just had to say, okay, this is what he has in mind. And I just want to be true to the story and to the character and serve it, as opposed to serving Karyn, the vain actress who's, knows that she's known for looking a certain way and being a certain thing. I said, like, leave it at the door. This is going to be different. And I'm glad I did it.
Well, that's a commendation to your husband, and when I guess he's probably there, or when next time you see him, tell him that I love the cinematography.
I will absolutely. It was quite beautiful.
Yes, it is. It is quite beautiful. Well, before I let you go, one of the things everyone always asks you for the past 20 to 30 years is Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and I know you probably have to talk about that like 30 to 40 to 50 times a year.
That's okay.
But one of the things that I did want to ask you is that, did you ever think that that show still resonates after all these years?
Oh, we never could have imagined. I mean, I never could have imagined. And honestly, I have to tell you that while we shot the show, it was hard for me to imagine even then that it was going out beyond the studio audience. I felt like, even though there were big cameras following us around, I still felt like, oh, it's like a play we're doing just for this audience here and for the crew and everybody that's here. We're experiencing it, and then we're done. And then next week we'll do another play. That's how it felt. And then so when I started getting feedback from, it going out into the world, that was one thing. But to imagine that it would go, across continents and then to over decades, and, that is something I couldn't, and generations, I just couldn't have imagined. And I feel so, so grateful, honored, very lucky to have been a part of something that's come into so many people's homes and lives, and they have a fond memory of the show. And then for the kids who are discovering it right now, that all this time later, that they're able to find something in it that they love, that makes them laugh and makes them feel and think.
Do you miss being in front of a live studio audience? I know that's a different type of acting.
No. It's so funny. Like the very first episode, the pilot, I was so nervous. I was just like, I was panicked. Yeah, I was absolutely just beyond myself panicked, and then, you do the show and you have pangs of nervousness, but I mean, it could happen anytime. Sometimes I would have none. I would walk into a scene just like I was walking in my own living room with no problem. And then in the 6th season, I remember being in the 6th season, the last season of the show, and having an entrance and having this horrible panic about going out there. And I didn't have that much to do. But for some reason, I was overcome with that same feeling of dread and, oh no, what am I doing? So you never know when it's going to hit. And so something I think that I would say this to everyone is that you have to just accept that thing as if it's a passenger in your car and just let it sit over there while you do your best to drive and not let this one help you determine where you're going and how you drive. But know that anxiousness, that anxiety sometimes will show up, but it's just a passenger in the car. It's not driving the car.
Were you surprised that a character like Hillary Banks, who, on paper looks like like just another spoiled teen of a rich family, ends up being very likable on the show, that you end up having a lot of fans because of it?
Yeah, it's strange, right? I remember early in the show, I was so nervous that people were going to hate her. And they did. A lot of people did. I remember we did the episode where in the first season where Carlton and Will blackmail her because she's dropped out of college and they found out. And when I go to Alfonso Carlton for help because Will's blackmailing me, and he turns it and says, when I'm saying he's making me clean his sneakers or whatever. And he says, will you clean mine? And he joins in on the blackmail. The live studio audience, they did not just laugh or clap. They started stomping their feet in the stands. They were loving it so much that she was getting hers. And I remember thinking, oh my goodness, they really hate me. And if you watch that episode, you can see, because they're holding on the laugh and they keep cutting back and forth between Alfonso and myself. And I'm trying not to smile. And you can see my face trying to mask a smile because I'm thinking, I'm laughing because I couldn't believe the response. I also went to France right after the show, and I crashed a house birthday party just because. And and some people at the party said, "You're the girl from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air." And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Oh, we hate you." I said, "Well, at least it's international." That's everybody. But it's true. Ultimately, I think she was somehow likable. And even in all of her horrible self-centeredness. And I really commend the writers with creating a character like that and writing for a character that way.
Excellent. Well, one more thing before I let you go. One of the things that I love about the show was your interaction with James Pavery on the show.
Yeah.
And I think he's terrific. He's part of. I went to the same university he did. At UC San Diego. So our campus always brag about him because we rarely have actors that actually leave because we're a science university.
Right.
Could you talk about acting alongside with him and all those times you asked him for money?
Gosh, he was so great. He was so great to act with because he was a very talented actor. And even if it was Hillary that was doing the craziness or had all the stuff, this is who you're working with. That's what gives you life, and that's what gives you truth, and that's what makes it funnier. And so he was so great to act with, whether the exchanges were small or larger or whatever. I think a lot of people remember the episode that Will did with him where his father comes and then leaves again. And the heartbreak of that scene when Will in the end says, how come you don't want me? How come he doesn't want me? And he breaks down. And that scene was with James. And it's funny because everyone remembers, as much as everyone remembers Will crying, everyone always talks about the scene between the two of them. And it's true, James didn't say a lot in that scene, but he is such an actor. And he gave Will so much, and he gave the scene so much in his silence and in his speaking without speaking. And that's the kind of actor he was. He was so generous always for you, for the other person. And as a person, I must say, that's how James was. James would look at you and go, oh, you know, you should play the part of, you know, he wanted me to play Macbeth, Lady Macbeth. And he was really in it, really like all the time. Oh, Karyn, you know, he'd see things in you. Same with Tatiana. There's a part that hopefully she will do someday that he really wanted her to do. And he'd see things in you and he'd offer gifts of knowledge to you. He was a very generous, beautiful man. I miss him terribly. We all do. And I was really just so fortunate to have him be such a big part of my life and to love me, to be loved by him.
I think that's great. And real fast, I know off and on you heard of this guy named Will Smith and so on. But when you first joined the show, I know Will Smith at the time was just an up and coming rising star. Do you ever imagine he was going to be big?
No, I mean, I knew how talented and charismatic he was. I knew who he was as a rapper, but he was ours. You know, I mean, plain and simply, he was ours. He was our fun and our friend and our joy and my cousin. And we had this thing. Like I said, I had a hard time even seeing that beyond the studio audience, anyone else was seeing the show, let alone millions and millions of people. So when he first started doing really big films, like blockbusters, like when he did Independence Day, I remember that was like, whoa, they're casting Will in it? That's so weird, you know, because it was new to cast, you know, a rapper, also a Black man in a leading part in a blockbuster film. Who did that back then? You know, it just wasn't happening unless it was Denzel Washington. It was like, it just wasn't a normal thing. And here's this, you know, kind of kid with this, you know, attitude. That was new to have that kind of thing be in the forefront. And for the mainstream to be accepting it, welcoming it, and wanting him to be the hero. It's like, what? You know, it was all brand new. And like I said, he was ours. That's my Will. You know, I knew he was incredibly charming and charismatic and more than anyone I had known before. So it's not the surprise of his talent. And also this is a guy who is a sponge. He's so intelligent, so bright, and he's a sponge. If he wants to learn about something, you know, he's going to suck it all up. He's going to do all he can to be the very best at it. And I also knew that about him. So it was not a surprise in any of capability, in terms of capability or possibility. It was just that he was personal, and to think that the whole world was looking at him and going, we want him, was like a little bit of a shock. I didn't know they were watching.
Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you about your husband, your family film.
Yes, sweet thing. Thank you.
Which is terrific. I know I've taken a lot of your time, and also thank you for speaking to us about Fresh Prince. Your fans
sure
really appreciate
but
it.
I hope people, I just want to say that the film is going to be opening tomorrow, Friday, at the Laemmle in Los Angeles, the Laemmle Theater, as well as the IFC Theater Center in Manhattan. And I just hope everyone will go out if you can go out and see the film. And if we get a lot of people going, they'll extend the run, which would be fantastic too. So more people will get the chance to see the film.
Absolutely. And this is a very beautiful film. Thank you, Karyn, for speaking with us. Hopefully we get to do this again.
I hope so. It was a pleasure. Thanks.
Hey, thank you. Bye now.
Bye-bye.